Hi everybody and welcome to this morning's lesson. We are starting a little earlier than usual, in fact 1 hour earlier than usual, but that is perfect for me because it's the summer and I want to try and finish earlier, so I hope that does not affect you too much. And again, I apologize for changing the schedule a little, but I hope that you will enjoy the lesson and maybe this suits you as well. So today we continue with the grammar. Every morning we are doing a little lesson in relation to grammar, and the topic today is just generally speaking about the present. So this is a type of a summary, a type of a recap, and it's nothing really new. We are speaking really about the present simple and the present continuous. So this lesson probably will be quite short, and that's perfect for everybody because we have had a very challenging week in terms of grammar. We have studied a lot of heavy content. So today it's a good idea just to review and to recap a little. If you want to check my previous lessons, all my lessons are available on my Facebook page in the video section. So you can see a lot of content in my video section, specifically the playlist, and there's so much content there that you should be able to use what you want. Okay, if you have difficulty to understand me, please select the subtitles because today I'm going to speak quite normal and quite fast, and this is a new tactic that I want to try and speak quickly and to speak normally for me because I think this is better for everybody. So please select the subtitles if you want to try and follow what I am saying. If you have a comment, if you have a question during the lesson, please leave your comment in the Facebook chat and I will hopefully be able to reply to your comment at the end of the lesson. So please leave a comment, say hello, and speak to each other. It's a good opportunity to interact with each other as well. So you can do that in the Facebook chat here. Social media. If you want to contact me, if you want to follow me on social media, I have the Instagram account, TikTok, YouTube, Pinterest, and WhatsApp. So you're very welcome to follow me on the social media, and you're very welcome to contact me on any of these platforms if you have a question in relation to the lessons. My timetable and my schedule is very similar compared to last week. So this is my schedule and my timetable. Okay, today I have changed the time a little and I'm starting earlier, but hopefully that's not bad for everybody. And basically, it's 18 lessons per week. We have 18 lessons per week. It's a massive amount of lessons, and we have different topics. So you can see all the different topics here, and hopefully some of them might suit you and might be interesting for you as well. Everything is free and everything is for the public. This is my project at the moment. It's a new project started since the pandemic that I want to teach online for free, and I think it's a very good project. It's a good way to reach a lot of people online. So that's my project at the moment. But if you want to support me, if you want to make a subscription, make a donation, make a contribution, you are welcome to do this on my bank with my bank details or also with the PayPal account. All the information is on my Facebook page, and your support is very welcome, and I hope that you will be able to maybe do that for me if you can. Also, I am contacting companies, I'm contacting businesses who might want to finance my project or support my project or sponsor my lessons or sponsor my project. So if you are a business, if you are a company and you want to support me, I can promote your business during this lesson, probably in relation to education or maybe a school, and that's very possible as well. Okay, so let's begin today, and I just want to make this a little bit, try to make this smaller. Give me one moment. Okay, perfect. So here you can see the plan for today. The topic is grammar because every morning we focus on grammar, but specifically, recently, we have looked at verbs and we have covered verb phrases, irregular verbs, questions and negatives, short forms, the verb to be, the present tense, past tense, perfect, continuous, modal, active and passive, the to infinitive, the ing form, and today today we move to talking about the present. As I said, it's not really new. Today it's just a type of summary and a type of recap. And the plan at the moment is to finish this list and then we will move to something different. So that's the plan at the moment. And let's continue with today's section. And today we speak about the present. So this website is the British Council website and it is superb for grammar. It's a super excellent, brilliant website to learn grammar. You probably have a grammar book, so maybe it's a good idea to have a grammar book. And of course, online there are a lot of resources, and this is one of the best sites that I have found in relation to grammar. So I highly recommend this website. The next website is maybe the Cambridge Grammar website, and that's another excellent resource and brilliant place to learn grammar. Grammar normally is heavy, grammar normally is difficult, it requires a lot of time, it requires a lot of energy, it requires a lot of concentration, I know, and grammar frequently is very boring, I know, and this lesson is also possibly very boring as well, but my idea is just to try to help a little and to give some support if possible. So I recommend that you read these pages and you read these topics yourself first. I think this is the best way to progress, and my video will hopefully give you a little assistance and a little extra support. But the secret, the importance is that you read the grammar yourself. It's necessary that you study first yourself, and my video can give you just an extra help if necessary. Okay, let's begin the instruction. Let's begin the lesson. So, talking about the present, learn about the different verb forms you can use to talk about the present and do the exercises to practice them on this page. Okay, so we have some very good exercises in this section. So we begin with level intermediate, and basically we use the present simple. We have a couple of definitions, a couple of situations when we use the present simple. Remember, the present simple is, for example, I know, I drink, I eat, I have, I talk, I walk. We have obviously so many different verbs, but the present simple is the moment in the present. And a better definition is here for when we talk about the present simple. For something that is true in the present. So this is difficult. What is true in the present? And the two examples are, they live next door to us. So apparently this is true. I have a big doubt about this section. I think people understand more or less how to use the present simple, and this page maybe will complicate things unnecessarily, but let's continue a little. So keep in mind that the general idea of the present simple, but this is more specific. The next example is, he works for the post office. That is true. Okay, but I think that's just a basic verb. They live next door to us. Most people know how to create this sentence in the present simple, and that's okay. For me, more important is to remember the third person, because, for example, the verb to live, first person, I live, second person, you live, third person changes, he lives with the S, and the third person for feminine, she lives also. So the third person generally changes And for me, that's more important in the present simple. And the next example is a good illustration of the third person. So the verb is to work. First person, I work. Second person, you work. Third person, he works or she works. Okay, so this is the third person with the S. So he works for the post office, and that apparently is something that is true in the present, and that is when we use the present simple. To be honest, for me to think about something that is true in the present, I don't know, for example, it is bright at the moment. It is 8 o'clock. That is true. So maybe that's another possible way to create the present. Okay, next. Something that happens regularly in the present. This is a classic definition and this is well known. So something that happens or occurs regularly isn't in the present is the time and the opportunity to use the present simple. Okay, so something happens regularly. So for example, they live next door to us. This does not happen regularly. No, he works for the post office. Maybe that is something that happens regularly also. But let's look at the two specific examples. The children are the subject in the plural, and remember, singular, one child and two children. So children is irregular in the plural, and in this situation it's plural. The children come, okay, come home from school at about 4, and this is a routine. This is something that happens, occurs regularly in the present, almost every day. The children come home from school at about 4 o'clock every day, regularly. Okay, and that is when we use the present simple. Another possible time to use the present simple. Next, we often, we frequently, we regularly see your brother at work. This is something that happens regularly, something that occurs regularly, and it's the present simple. So we see your brother at work every day, every week, occasionally, regularly, often, something that happens regularly. It's the present simple. And I think that's okay. I think most people understand that more or less. Okay, something that is always true. So the first example is something that is true in the present. So in the present, they live next door to us. But that is not always true because it's possible they might move. So it's true in the present. For example, it is bright, it is warm. That's true in the present. But it's not always true. However, something that is always true, for example, water boils at 100 degrees Celsius is always true. So that's another time and another description about using the present simple. The next example, the river Nile is the longest river in Africa, and this is true. It's true in the present and it's always true. Okay, so it's something that's always true, almost a fact. And it's not something that happens regularly, no. It's something that is always true. So that's another definition of when to use the present simple. And some people like to know these three definitions. So for example, something that is always true, we use the present simple. Something that happens or occurs regularly in the present is another time we use the present simple. And something that is true in the present is another time that we use the present simple. Okay, and that is level intermediate. Next, we speak about the present continuous. What is the construction of the present continuous? You must remember the construction of the present continuous. The formula, and to construct the present continuous, we need the subject. I, you, he, she, him. Sorry, I, you, he, she, we, you, they. That is the subject always. We also need the extra auxiliary verb to be. Always in the continuous, it's the verb to be. I am, you are, he is, she is, we are, you are, they are, plus the gerund. And the gerund is the ing form. Eating, drinking, listening, talking, walking. I am listening is the present continuous, something you do continuously in the present. But more specifically, the definition of the present continuous is something happening at the moment of speaking. So at the moment of speaking, I am looking at the television, I am recording the video, present continuous because it's something happening, something occurring at the moment of me speaking. For example, I cannot hear you. I cannot hear you. I am listening to a podcast. So the listening to the podcast is happening at the moment of speaking. So I cannot hear you. That is the present simple in the negative because I am listening at the moment to a podcast. Not difficult really. Again, today is just a summary and it's just really a recap and there's nothing really dramatically new. So just today is very quick and very brief look at the present tense, present and the present continuous, the present simple and the present continuous. Next, please be quiet. So this is an instruction, an order, and that's known as the imperative. When you have the instruction and the imperative, there is no subject. So this is an instruction. Please be quiet. The children, plural, are sleeping, present continuous, because it's happening at the moment of speaking. Okay, so please be quiet now because the children are sleeping. Or alternatively, it's possible the present simple, the children are, adjective, asleep. So frequently you have lots of possible ways to communicate in English with different tenses, and there's always flexibility, always the opportunity to be very clear. But the grammar is difficult because you have a lot of rules in black and white, a lot of rules in a book. But in reality, it's more important to be very clear and to communicate very clearly your message. And most people have the ability to do that. But grammar is different because grammar you need to read and try to remember the rules. But in reality, I recommend it's more important to communicate your message in whatever way you can. Okay. Also, the present continuous is used for something happening regularly in the present before and after a specific time. So for example, subject I, auxiliary verb to be I am, gerund I am having, adverb usually, normally, regularly, I am regularly, usually having breakfast at this time in the morning. So this is the present continuous before and after a specific time in the morning. So I'm usually having breakfast at this time in the morning. Another way to say this sentence is the present simple. I usually have breakfast at this time in the morning, and there's no problem. So again, be very relaxed, be very calm with this explanation today. It's not super strict because the first sentence here is possible in the present simple also, and it has a very clear meaning as well. Next, when I see George, he is usually reading his Kindle. So this is something happening regularly in the present, before and after a specific time. Okay, so George, he is, that's the subject, the auxiliary verb to be, plus the gerund, that's the construction and the formula for the present continuous. But it's also possible here the present simple, I think. So when I see George, he usually reads his Kindle. So little difference, but it's just important to read the grammar again. Okay, the next possible time to use the present continuous is when something in the present which we think is temporary. For example, Michael is at university. He is studying history. So that's considered temporary. I think it's also considered something true. You remember the first definition, something true. So Michael is at university, he is studying history, that's temporary. But also, you can say Michael is at university, he studies history. That's possible, it's understandable. But yes, there's a little technical difference, but in reality, there's no big problem. The next example, I love Harry Potter. I am reading the last book, and this means it's temporary because you will soon finish. And no problem, really, not so advanced. Okay. I have an interesting comment here because the last book is very similar to the latest book. So basically, there's a difference between last and latest. And in English, the most typical is latest information, latest news, etc. And last is very clearly the thing you did or the thing you had immediately in the past. So for me, latest is very important to remember, and it's maybe more frequent. Latest information, latest news, the latest update. So yes, they're very similar. So really, I recommend to pay attention in the future when you use last and latest, because it's very frequently confused as well. So just be careful with that. Next, something which is new and contrasts with a previous state. So very, very complicated definition again. And we use the present continuous for something which is new and contrasts with a previous state, a previous condition. For example, nowadays, people in general are sending text messages instead of phoning. This is something new and contrasts with the past, contrasts with a previous state. So nowadays, people are sending text messages instead of phoning. I suggest in this sentence again, I suggest it's possible the present simple with very little difference in spoken English. Nowadays, people send text messages instead of phoning. Very, very little difference in spoken English. But grammatically, technically, there is a difference. So don't worry too much about this. In my opinion, it depends on your level. I'm obviously not a good teacher for suggesting this, but in my opinion, this is not the most important thing to concentrate on at the beginning. Next, I hear you have moved house. Where are you living now? This is the present continuous because it's something new that contrasts with your previous state. But it's possible to create this sentence in the present simple. Where do you live now? And that's very typical in spoken English as well. I hear you've moved house. Where do you live now? Exactly the same, more or less, as where are you living now? Okay. The present continuous is also used for something that is changing, growing, or developing. The weather is getting colder. The weather is changing. The weather is developing to become colder. So really the verb is to become. The weather is becoming colder. Okay, so this is changing, growing, or developing. Next, our grandchildren are growing up quickly. This is changing, it's growing, and it's developing. And this is the present continuous. I think this is more necessary in the present continuous compared to the present simple. So for example, the weather gets colder. It's understandable, it's fine. And that's okay as well in the present simple. The second one, our children grow up quickly, is also clear in the present simple as well. So sometimes the present simple and the present continuous are very similar in terms of sense. Next, something that happens again and again and again regularly. Remember, the present simple is also used for something that happens or occurs regularly, but the present continuous is also used for something that happens again and again. For example, it's always raining in Dublin. So that is the present continuous. and it's very similar to the present simple. It always rains in Dublin. So no problem again between the present simple and the present continuous. Really no big difference. The next example, they are always arguing. They are always fighting. This is something that happens again and again. But the present simple also is possible for something that happens regularly. So therefore, they always argue is the same, in my opinion. Okay, next. George is fantastic. George is great. He is always laughing. So George is great. He is always laughing. That's the present continuous. The present simple. George is great. He always laughs. Maybe the same. Just the same. So not a big difference. Okay, so that is the first part of the lesson. Note that we normally use always with disuse. So when something happens again and again, we typically use always, always, always for something that happens regularly, frequently. Yes, that's the adverb always. Okay, let's continue to the section of modal verbs, using modal verbs in the present. And first, if you have a question, please put your question in the Facebook chat. Please leave your comment, and hopefully I can answer any questions that you have in relation to this lesson. Modal verbs. We use modal verbs to talk about the present when we are not sure of something, when we have a doubt, when we are not certain, when we are not sure. We use a modal verb. And remember the modal verbs may, might, could, can, must, ought to, should. We have seen the modal verbs recently. And for example, I don't know where Henry is. He might be. It's possible. I'm not sure. He might be playing tennis. So playing is the present continuous. Be playing. And that's the modal verb because you are not sure. Next. Who is knocking at the door? Who is contacting you? Who is knocking at the door? I don't know. It could be. It's a possibility. It may be. It might be the police. So who's knocking at the door? I don't know. It could be the police. And that's the modal verb with the verb to be in the present simple. Also, to talk about things like ability and obligation, should or must, we also use the present. I can speak English quite well, but I cannot speak French at all. So that is the present in the modal. I can speak, it's my ability, but I cannot speak French. I don't have the ability. You should do your homework. It's an obligation. It's a strong suggestion, a strong recommendation, and it's the present. You should do your homework before you go out. Okay, let's try the exercises, and I think that will finish the lesson for today. So a very short lesson and just really a summary and a review of the present. So today we spoke about the present tense, the present simple, and the present continuous. So let's look at this exercise. Choose the most suitable form, present simple or present continuous. And maybe I will have mistakes with this because for me, I was very relaxed with this topic. So, for example, my uncle, third person, works with the S. My uncle works for a business that buys and sells used cars, that is buying and selling used cars. Whew. This is tricky. This is very tricky because the two of them are very comfortable and very understandable. But what is the situation here? What is the grammar? What is the rule for using the present or the present simple or the present continuous? I think this is something that happens regularly and often. So for that reason, I suggest it's the present simple. My uncle works. Also, the first verb is in the present simple. That's another indicator that the second verb is also the present simple. So my uncle works for a business that buys and sells used cars regularly, normally, frequently, often. Okay, next. We have 8 questions in total. Connor is on. For the diet, we use the preposition on a diet. Okay, so you need the preposition on for a diet. Connor's on a special diet at the moment. He something eats a lot of eggs, present simple, or the present continuous. What do you think? For me, as a native English speaker, it's easier, but the logic and the rule I'm having difficulty to explain and connect the rule. But as a native English speaker, it's probably easier for me to know the answer. And again, it's the present simple here. So that's another indicator. He's on a special diet at the moment. He is eating lots of very, very, very little difference. In spoken English, they're almost the same. I'm going to suggest he eats, maybe at the moment, is the emphasis for the present. He is eating a lot of eggs and meats. For me, there's no difference. So there's no real difference here. I think either is fine. I have a big doubt. Let's continue. I something tea. Would you like some? Okay, this is interesting as well. So I something some tea. Would you like some now? And is it make in the present simple or is it the present continuous? I am making. For me, this is clear. As a native English speaker, I'm suggesting the present continuous. Why? I'm not 100% sure because I did not really pay great attention to the explanation above. So I am making tea at the moment. Would you like some? I think because it's continuing in the present time. So definitely that seems to be good. Anyway, we continue to the next one. It's just instinct. The planet Mars is taking just under 687 days to go around the sun. I think this is something that is true. And when something is true in the present, we use the present simple. So for this reason, because it's true, we use the present simple. It takes. Number 5. Have you noticed, have you realized, have you seen that whenever we see Tim, he wears a different pair of shoes? He is wearing a different pair of shoes. Again, in spoken English, there's no dramatic difference. The two of them are good. But what is grammatically correct? Good question. Have you noticed whenever we see Tim, he wears different pairs of shoes? I don't know. I'm going to suggest the first one, but I have a big doubt for the grammatical answer. But remember, the two of them are comfortable. Maybe you have a better idea than me. Let's continue to the next one. At my school, we sit exams twice a year. In January and June, we are sitting. So this is sit. Why? I'm not sure. I need to review the rules, but not now. I'm just going to do the exercises first. But that is the answer, I think. We sit exams twice a year because it's maybe true, but I don't know. I don't know the explanation. I cannot remember. Okay, next. Our neighbors always go on holidays. I don't know how they can afford it. Are always going on holidays. In spoken English, the two of them are fine. People mix the two of them all the time and there's no problem. But what is grammatically correct? It's something that is regular. And I think the present simple and the present continuous are both okay. I'm going to suggest the second one, just from instinct, just a choice. But grammatically, I cannot explain because I thought the rules were not so important because the two of them are very similar. Okay. My wife, supper, because there's two P's. Supper is the food you eat before you go to bed. My wife always cooks, always gets supper on Mondays always cooks supper on Mondays because I get home late, or my wife is always cooking because I'm getting home late. The first one, instinctively. Why? I don't know. Grammatically, I'm having big difficulty to explain to you the lesson that I just explained. So obviously I'm a bad student, but let's check the answers. I think I have 2 or 3 mistakes. 6 from 8. Okay, so I have 2 mistakes. This is correct. This is correct. This is correct. Okay, Tim is wearing. Have you noticed whenever we see Tim, he is wearing a different pair of shoes? Grammatically, that's the problem, but in reality, there's no problem. If you understand me, people use the two very similarly every day with no big problem. Takes. I'm making some tea. Okay, yes, I had a doubt with that as well. Again, no big problem. It's just very minor. Today's lesson is very minor. The second exercise is the grammar explanation. And let's try this. Okay, so my uncle works for a business that buys and sells cars. Is that again and again? Is it true in the present? Is it regularly? Is it temporary? Because for me, it's again and again, and it's true in the present, and it's regularly. So this is tricky because regularly and again are almost the same, I think. Okay, so I'm going to suggest again and again. I have a doubt. Connor's on a special diet at the moment. He's eating lots of eggs and meat. Temporary. Temporary. I'm making some tea. Would you like some? Moment of speaking. Or true in the present. Or or regularly before and after a specific time. Let's suggest moment of speaking. This could be my worst exercise, my worst result. The planet Mars takes 680 days to go around the sun. That's true. Always true. Or true in the present. Huh. What do you think? I think always true. Have you noticed when we see Tim, he is wearing a different pair of shoes regularly? Yes. I'm almost guessing now. At my exams, we sit exams twice a year. At my school, we sit exams twice a year in January and June. Regularly. This could be a disaster. Our neighbours are always going on holiday. I don't know how they can afford it. That's regularly. No, no. Let me change this because I'm going to move regularly to the next one. I think that's clear. My wife always cooks supper on Mondays because I get home late regularly. Let's suggest this one, but I'm having a complete disaster with this one. And are you ready to see a lot of errors? There's going to be a lot of errors here. We select the answers. 3 from 8. That's my worst exercise in this lesson. So I failed this exercise. Why? So where are the answers? Show answers. Okay, so we start at the top. So it's true in the present. I disagree. I think it's regularly. Connor's on a special diet. Temporary. I'm making some tea. The moment of speaking. Always true. Regularly before. I have a headache at this moment now. I have a headache with this confusion. January and June we sit exams regularly, again and again, always going on holidays. Okay, so, and the third option is just repetition. So the third exercise is only repetition. Okay, so that is the lesson for today. It's talking about the present. Maybe I have created more doubts for you, unfortunately, but basically we speak about the present simple and we speak about the present continuous. So the present simple, something that is true in the present, something that happens regularly in the present, something that is always true, we use the present simple, the present continuous, something that happening at the moment of speaking, the present continuous, something happening regularly in the present before and after a specific time, something in the present which we think is temporary, present continuous, or something which is new and contrasts with the previous state, that's the present continuous also, something which is changing, growing, or developing, present continuous, something which happens again and again, not in the present, just in general, present continuous, and modal verbs to talk about the present when we are not sure. We use modal verbs in the present to talk about things like ability and obligation. Okay, good. So, a little tricky today, and for example, tomorrow, maybe I will not, so I will show you the list of topics that we have to complete, and this is where we are today. So tomorrow it's talk about the past, talk about the future. Maybe I will skip those two to avoid some embarrassment, but I think I will skip those two exercises, and maybe we move to the conditional with the if, which is more important in relation to our progress. Then we will speak about wishes and hypotheses. We will also speak about the clause structure and verb patterns. And finally, we look at verbs have, take, make, give, go, and do. And they are more interesting, I think. So I think I will skip these three sections, well, two sections, but I recommend that you can read them if you have an interest, and that might be useful. So tomorrow, I think we will move to verbs in time clauses and if clauses. Great, so that's everything for today. Thank you for watching live. I hope I've created more confusion for you, and thank you for watching recorded as well. Remember that my schedule is more or less the same as previously, but today I've changed the time because I want to start early, and tomorrow, I don't know, maybe I start early as well. So today we move to the Cambridge Proficiency lesson next. And later today, we have a class about the different accents, probably focusing on the Liverpool accent again. This is my project, 18 free lessons per week. It's a massive amount of content. It's an incredible workload, and it's free. Everything is free. Everything is for the public. And this is my plan since the pandemic. I think it's a good idea. I think it's a good way to reach different people. And if you want to support me, if you want to contribute or to make a donation, you can use my bank details, €1, €2, whatever you want, or the currency in your country. You can transfer with my bank, or alternatively, you can make a subscription on PayPal if you can. And again, whatever quantity that you can. And the information for the PayPal subscription is on my Facebook post as well. And your support will be very, very important. So thank you so much for this. Also, I'm contacting companies, contacting businesses, hoping that the company can support me and sponsor me, and I can promote your business in return, especially if you're in the field of education, such as a school, because I'm happy to direct students to your business, to your school, because here at this moment in my location, I cannot really give conversation lessons at the moment. Okay, so that is possible. Contact, if you want to contact me on social media, here are all the details: Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Pinterest, and WhatsApp as well. So you're very welcome to join and connect with me on those channels. And that's it. So thank you for today. I hope that you have a very good day today. If you have a question, if you have a doubt, please put your question in the Facebook chat and I will be able to answer your question now. Great. Thank you so much. Have a good morning and good to see you. And thank you so much and talk to you soon. See you later. Bye bye.